Hi there, folks. This is WP-Tonic 105, and it's our live show, which we have on Saturdays. It starts at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and we have a great panel of WordPress experts. We're going to be talking about some WordPress stories that I found during the week that I consider interesting. We will find if the panel agrees with that or I have failed. And then we will be going on to the main topic, which is how to make your WordPress website from slow into a speed machine. So I'm going to ask the panel to introduce themselves because I'm just lazy. So Sally, like to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Sally Getch. My company is WP Fangirl. I build websites for small businesses and nonprofits. And I'm also the organizer of the East Bay WordPress meetup in Oakland, California.
That's great. I'd like to introduce yourself, Jackie.
I'm Jackie D'Elia, and my business is Jackie D'Elia Design, and I focus on web design and development, and content marketing and digital strategy.
Sounds great to me. John, my beloved co-host, like to introduce yourself?
Sure thing. My name is John Locke. I run just a small business. It's myself called Lockdown Design, and I focus on custom WordPress theme development, local SEO, and WooCommerce.
And yes, he's great. John keeps me under control. He needs something to control me. My name's Jonathan Denwood, folks. I'm the founder of WP-Tonic, and we're all about helping you keep your WordPress up to date, secure, and so you can concentrate on your business, folks. That's our aim. So let's go on with this. Let's start with the first story that I found, and obviously they had WordCamp Europe in Vienna, Austria, and it was I think it was the biggest one ever, and it seemed to be a fantastic event. And obviously we had Matt being interviewed. So I'll start with Sally. What did you think of the interview, and what do you think some of the highlights were?
Well, I did not actually get a chance to watch the whole interview. I read through the post of the highlights and some of the other items, and yes, it's sort of like, no, we weren't kidding about JavaScript, and I do think the discussion about Medium and Tumblr versus WordPress and which is more of a real competitor is the point that Matt makes about how basically you have major publishers who give money to WordPress to be hosted on their VIP service, whereas right now Medium is giving money to publishers to publish there. And overall, I agree with that. I mean, Medium is really nice for certain kinds of things. It's got a pretty good interface. It's got, but it's restricted. And this is kind of the trade-off in a lot of different things that might be a better tool for something specific and not a better all-around tool.
That's great. What do you think, Jackie? What were some of the highlights of the interview for you?
Yeah, actually, what Sally brought up was very interesting too. And of course, I think if you're going to have an online strategy and branding, that you need to own the space that you're building it on. So while Medium and Tumblr and, WordPress.com and lots of places to market yourself, I still think you need to own your own hub. So, and I always scratch my head. I don't understand, why would I want to build my brand on Medium and only Medium? I would rather, maybe write a couple of posts on there and use that as a way to build my own local brand. So that was one thing that I think is WordPress strength, which is why I like it, is, the .org WordPress is, you can build your own place out on the internet and put up your brand, and you have control over it. You don't have to worry about the rules changing on you later after you've built it.
Yeah, I tend to not trust hosted services for exactly that reason. I mean, how many people have gotten into trouble because Facebook, changed their algorithm or whatever, and
Exactly.
You don't know. I mean, it's not as if WordPress itself might not change in some ways that are challenging, but at least then you have the freedom to do your own coding too.
And even if you're on WordPress.com, I'm pretty sure you can export your
site. They make it really easy.
Load it up into a .org site. So I think if I had to choose, I'd use WordPress.com if I wanted something that was hosted. But I certainly wouldn't build a site on, Wix or Square, whatever it is, a lot of these other flavors that are out there, because you don't know how those rules are going to change later.
I think it depends a little bit what you're building. If you have a 5-page website that you're going to change maybe once a year, go ahead, use something like Wix or Weebly, because there's so little content there that if for some reason it all disappears, you won't have that much trouble.
As long as you have control of your domain name and, you're forwarding, you're using your domain name. If you're using somebody else's domain name and you're building your site, then and you're hoping to build some SEO over time, well, that's not a good strategy. No. So you would want to revisit that.
You really do want your own domain.
Sounds great. Sorry, go on, Jackie. You were going to say something?
Well, the other point that I was going to bring up that I just thought was really interesting, we were talking before we started the show, was, the number of themes in the WordPress repo that were not responsive, and Matt Mullenweg seemed kind of surprised by that. If I watched the interview, the video of it, and he was like, really? And I was like, okay, so that seems to be an issue that I suspect is going to get some attention going forward. But one of the things we were chatting about is for an average, DIY person looking for a theme on there, it's a little confusing about what responsive means and fluid layout and fixed layout. And I would like to see a tag there. Sally had mentioned it too, is, that would be just mobile friendly, and maybe put together some plan to transition out the websites that are not mobile friendly. Because I really can't see where you would be choosing a theme that isn't mobile friendly today. I'm trying to think of a reason that I would like, oh no, I really want to fix
pretty much the only reason would be that you have a whole separate mobile website, and not very many people do anymore. And the ones that do are probably not using free themes, because it costs a lot of money to maintain a separate mobile website.
Yes.
Yeah, to say, John, I thought that was a really interesting moment in a pretty soft interview, which in some ways is not surprising. Matt wasn't really asked any, in my opinion, any really challenging questions. But I thought that was an interesting moment on a couple of fronts. He's surprised at the situation, which he wasn't aware of. And second, why there's so many non-responsive sites still in the depository. What do you think, John?
Well, I think what you're going to see going forward is maybe somewhere down the line they make an ultimatum to theme authors to make it mobile friendly. Because let's face it, more people use this to surf the internet than they do a desktop computer. And there's no reason to not have it be mobile friendly. What Jackie is saying about like a fluid and fixed and responsive as tags, those only make sense to people like us. They don't make sense really to people who are doing it themselves or, business owners, but they do understand mobile friendly. I think it's interesting too that he pointed out that Medium was not that big of a threat, and that Tumblr was actually more of a competitor than Medium ever was, because, obviously Tumblr has a lot more users and a lot more people used it to publish. And I think what he was saying is with Medium, it doesn't really democratize publishing. It's everything looks the same. And
so you mean it socializes publishing?
Sorry, it just froze. Anyway, but like with Medium, it's really like what look at who is on Medium for the most part. It's marketing people, it's like entrepreneurs, people writing about how I lost it all by the time I was 25 and coming back, stories like that. And it's like a lot of stuff like that. But I think for like small businesses, medium-sized businesses, anything outside of like the hardcore like technology space or marketing space, it's not necessarily like something that makes sense. Now, Tumblr is like something that's totally different too. It's famous for like a totally different market, but it has more users, just straight up. And the thing with Tumblr too is it's more customizable than Medium. There's themes on Tumblr, and there's not any themes on Medium. So,
I personally see you must. I personally, might be totally wrong here. It'd be interesting to see how this goes, but I really think the purchase of LinkedIn by Microsoft is, one of the major problems that the LinkedIn management team have been facing is how they make the LinkedIn site more stickier. How do they get more people to go to LinkedIn and stay there longer and be more active on LinkedIn? And I can see them producing a number of tools, services around publishing to try and increase the amount of time that people stay on that site. What do you think, John?
Well, if you notice in the past year that LinkedIn has like pivoted to become
lots and lots of people publish on LinkedIn, and in many cases get really good traction from it.
It makes sense though, because if that's where you're building your professional brand, that's a great place to build authority. And it's all in the central place where a recruiter is hanging out and people at companies that you might be wanting to work with. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I really see it as a kind of quiet giant that I understand, I just thought, it will be really interesting to see what Microsoft does with LinkedIn. And,
that's the sad part, is that Microsoft bought it. That's the,
yes. I mean, look what happened to Skype.
Yes.
I think under the new CEO and some of the new management in Microsoft, I think they're much more with it than they used to be, Sally.
Well, I hope they keep their independence of it, because it's really something that expands well beyond specific technologies, and I certainly wouldn't want it to be focused, even gently focused. I think it'd be better to just leave it as a standalone and let it run, because it's free and open for everybody, regardless of what type of opportunity you want.
Oh, I really don't see them, but you never know. But I think the days where
I don't think they'd want to limit the number of people who were using it. I think their ability to reach all those people was one reason they wanted it, and I doubt they would do anything that changed that. And we'll have to see. LinkedIn has done some things that I've really liked and some things that I haven't liked so much over the past years, and I think they were maybe a little bit unclear on their identity and their direction, and this was one of the reasons that they were looking to be.
I think that's very well put, Sally. They seem to do things that I really liked, and then they did stuff that I thought, oh my God, what are you doing? They had example. They had it buried, but they had on their premier level, they had a price that they didn't publicize, but it was really good value, and then quietly they got rid of it. I think the price structure, precisely what you get at certain levels, functionality, there's a lot of work to be done on that platform, and there's a lot of opportunities. But I honestly see it. I think that's why Microsoft got into a bidding war. I think it's very easy to say they overpaid for it, but it depends what the upscale, the opportunities. But they did get into a pricing war with Salesforce.com. I personally are happier that Microsoft is the owner than Salesforce.com. What would you say about that, John?
Salesforce versus
Microsoft.
Yeah, I mean, Salesforce is pretty entrenched. Like most enterprise companies already use Salesforce. I don't think that they're going away or anything like that.
No, I mean, as an owner of LinkedIn, I personally
I don't think that they're going to like mess with it too much. There's a video I was just trying to look up. I don't know if you follow this guy, Professor Galloway. He's like a really kind of monotone guy, but he just like he has really interesting presentations. He's super smart. He teaches at like a New York university or something like that. But he has a video that's about the 4 horsemen of technology, like Apple, Amazon, Google, and Facebook. And then he has another video where it's like predicting the next one, and they assess like all these different companies based on different, things like revenue, like branding, appeal, recruiting, and all that. And I think what the aspect of that came out is LinkedIn is actually positioned to be like a major player in the next 5 years, because unlike a lot of companies, they actually have a revenue model that's successful. They have a lot of users. And so they don't really like need like venture funding or anything like that. So I think that is like a lot of why Microsoft picked them up. If you look at like their acquisitions, like Microsoft in the last 6 months, they picked up Lynda, which is a content publishing company. It's education courses and stuff like that. And then they pick up LinkedIn, which is also pivoted to a content publishing company. LinkedIn Pulse, you see like LinkedIn influencers. All they are really focusing on now is getting people there through like content and actually encouraging people to publish on there. So I think
and LinkedIn has always ranked so well in search engines that of course people will find content if it's published there.
One of the other things that LinkedIn did really well was purchasing lynda.com. I think that was a very smart move. They had been partnering together a long time. As a Lynda user, I liked the ability to, every time I took a course, to publish it automatically to my LinkedIn profile. That's been that way for years. I really like that feature. And so it made sense to me that that whole thing about, your professional life and education together makes a lot of sense. That was a really good synergy.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think we go on to the next story, folks, which commercial WordPress product descriptions can mislead customers into purchasing more licenses than necessary. Wow, I'm shocked. Go on, Sally. What did you think of this?
So I looked over this, and it's sort of a matter of how how the thing is described, and it's sort of saying these things are GPL. I mean, not every plugin out there is, but they were talking about the ones that are licensed under the GPL. But they're saying, use on X sites, use on Y sites, and they're not making it clear that what you're really paying for there is the support and the updates. Because if it is licensed under the GPL, you can theoretically use it on as many sites as you want, but you can't get support for all of those sites. So, in most cases, I will buy a single license of something, at least to test it out to be sure that I want it. And then I may go on to buy a developer license for whatever extra I get, either, additional support or additional features. Because, the developers work hard to build things. It's reasonable to pay them for them if you value the tool. But in some cases, you may really only need the support for one person. And so it's much better to be clear about it. I think, I would consider these descriptions probably less misleading than a lot of the things that say, and do X and Y amazing thing without knowing code, as if it meant without knowing anything, and people buy these things and are totally overwhelmed and unable to figure them out because, whether or not you have to code, there's actually a big learning curve.
Yeah. What do you think, Jackie?
I read the article and they were pointing out a specific theme that was mentioned in the article that I have that theme. So, and I thought about it and I have to say when I, just from my own perspective, I think you could definitely draw lines that there are differences between plugins and themes in this regard. And the way that I look at it is, themes typically are going to be customized. You're going to do something for it. Let's just say for somebody like me, a developer is going to I'm going to get a theme. I'm going to start making changes to this theme. So getting an update from the theme developer for my theme, if I'm using Genesis and a child theme, gets messy. It does. There's no grandchild theme. So you're thinking, okay, how am I going to be alerted that there's updates? And then what's the mechanism for me to integrate those updates into my existing child theme that I've customized?
Right. You just have to run a diff merge on all your files.
Exactly. And so then we come down to, okay, I'm not going to really be able to get updates. I'm going to be able to get support. Okay. So if I run into a problem with a theme, it's nice to be able to get support on that theme. It all being GPL. If I get a developer's license for this theme and I make it my own now and I've customized it, right? I'm free to distribute that to my clients without requiring them to go purchase that theme. So my clients are never going to be contacting that theme developer for support because I'm the one that customized and installed that theme. So I think in that case, it doesn't make a lot of sense for the developer license, I think. I can't seem to come up with a reason why that would work. I've actually just removed the whole theme activation thing out of there anyway, so that it isn't an issue for my clients. But if you are a DIY theme buyer and you're getting that, and maybe you want to put it on 2 or 3 sites and you want support on all of those sites if you run into a problem, I can see where that would make sense to do that there. But I think it's a very gray area. I think with plugins, it's much clearer because, I've got 20 sites set up for clients and we've got a plugin that we're using on there. And I want the auto updates on that for sure, right? I mean, I want to be able to have that updated automatically. And if there is a problem with one of them, I want to be able to contact the plugin author and get some help with it. Like something like with EDD or one of those types of things where you're WooCommerce, things like that. I think that makes a lot more sense and it is clear. I think on themes, you just really need the use case for it. You need to really ask yourself, what are you really doing with it?
Yeah, what do you think, John?
There's a lot of interesting things in the comments section here on this. And basically it boils down to, under the GPL, you can freely distribute anything that's the way I understand it, you can distribute WordPress is free. Derivatives of stuff are free to distribute, but for anything that's like a legitimate business site or any legit site, you're going to want support. You're going to want updates. You're going to want to be able to communicate with somebody when things go wrong, because sites are constantly evolving. WordPress is constantly evolving, and it's not static sites. It's pretty much simple. You're going to want to have those updates, and that's what sustains the plugin and theme companies. And yes, you can buy one license of a plugin and use it on 100 sites. But those 99 other sites that don't have support and don't have automatic updates, is that really in your best interest? Probably not. So, could it be worded a little bit better? Maybe. We should say that, but at the same time, it's we need to do what's best, to keep those theme authors and those plugin authors in business so that their products are supported and our sites don't fall to pieces like a house of cards, Yeah,
I think that's a great point, John. I had very mixed feelings about the article. I could see why, I thought it was one of those articles that was written to get a lot of comment, and it did.
It did, and it was.
It did. And I thought it was SEO bait link in some ways.
Of course it is.
And I think it was really interesting that they chose to highlight a theme versus a plugin in the article, which didn't make a lot of sense to me. I would have rather seen it discuss a plugin because that's where it makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, you're right. And I think it's just sorting out your wording and, get appropriate wording and don't mislead people. But the main thing is a lot of this stuff is underpriced already. It's an endemic problem in the WordPress community.
I think
everywhere, almost everywhere.
John's point, it really needs to be sustainable, though. So we should all want to support this so that it's sustainable, so that you have a plugin next year to use, and
right.
That makes sense.
You shouldn't pay for anything you don't need. But what you do need, you should be willing to pay for, especially if it's for your business. If it's, if you're going to be making money from it, you ought to be willing to pay money for it.
And I always thought that a lot of these really high quality commercial themes are well underpriced anyway. I think they're ridiculously priced. And
I personally don't understand theme pricing at all. To me, it makes no sense whatsoever.
There seems to have been this sort of collective decision about how much people will pay for a theme, and so the prices are there versus calculating, all right, how much time did it take to build this? How many sales do I need before I can recoup that time? Plus how much is, how are we going to cover the cost of supporting it?
Yeah, and a lot of these themes have lots of features. They're packed with lots of, and I'm not saying they're bloated. Yes. I'm just talking about just some really nice designs.
Some of them are,
some things. Yeah. But I think that's, why shouldn't you be worth paying $250 for a theme? If it's well done and it's really something that you can use, and it's GPL, you're going to be able to use it on as many sites as you want. That to me seems like a bargain.
Yeah, and I think you should have like two modes. You should make it clear you can buy it and you get absolutely no support. You just get the support of a forum, maybe. You won't be able to send us a question. You won't get any updates, but you can just try it out at this low price. And then if you like it, you're going to have to pay but maybe I'll be naive because you end up even more with a security mess. Now, who knows?
Yeah, because they don't blame the theme author at the end of the day if you do an option like that. And that's why Envato changed their rules, is because they were making people offer an additional 6 months of support. Because at the end of the day, they don't blame the theme author, they don't blame ThemeForest, they don't blame the theme, they blame WordPress itself. That's who they blame. Yep,
true. Let's go on to the next story. But I thought I'd give it some oxygen. I was in two minds about it because I just put it aside. Balkahaki.
Syed Balki.
Balki. Syed. It was a bog standard interview. There was nothing of any new insight, but it's just this guy's age, and he started his commercial career at age 12. And when he was discussing his actual background, that's where I thought the interview really kind of livened up a bit. And obviously I always listen to what he writes and the podcasts that he's on, because he has so much insight. So, Sally, what did you get anything out the interview?
Well, yes, he's one of those people that make the rest of us feel like slackers, but seriously, I thought it was, that he made a lot of good points about when not to have your pop-ups appear. And of course, he can't prevent people who use his product from having the pop-up appear before you can even read the site title. But at least, he's also kind of focusing on, and also that, and the analytics is that, you have to start out with some kind of a goal in order to know whether you're, whether the pop-up tool is working. What was happening before? What are you trying to accomplish? Does that work? And yeah, there's nothing revolutionary about any of that, but it is certainly good sense.
All right. What did you think of the interview? Any high points, Jackie?
I really like Opt-in Monster. I use it on my site. But one of the things that I find really beneficial is their monster links that they've added. That's a nice ability to grow your email list by offering bonus add-on material for people who are reading posts, and get this, click here and you can get this free PDF or something else that you're going to offer that's got some additional info that's not in your post, as a way to help grow your list. I like that, and I love the way that they've built in the flexibility on when to do pop-ups, where to do them. And, because like everybody else, nobody likes to go to a site and you're just starting to read the title and you already have a pop-up in front of you asking you to subscribe to something you don't even know if you'd be interested in subscribing to. So I think the timing of all that is completely wrong. I would much rather see you be prompted at a time when you're getting ready. Maybe you've already read 2 posts, and you can even set it up where, they viewed 2 pages, and they get towards halfway down the bottom of the 2nd page. And that might be a good time, because now they've shown interest in your site and they're reading something. They might be much more interested. You're not offending people that just landed on your site. So he had really good strategy, the way that they put that together. And I do like it.
Yeah, I thought it kind of really explained, it was a real pitch for his own products, but that's why he was on the podcast. But so fair dues. But he did give some good explanations. What did you think, John, of the general interview, and were there some things that you found you got from it, John?
I have to say that I didn't even listen to this interview. I know. I didn't do my homework. So I get it after that assignment.
Boy.
I know.
Where's that claw? Where's Kim's claw?
Yeah.
John, do you have any opinions about pop-ups and how you would structure them for clients?
Does anybody not have opinions about pop-ups?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's gotten really out of hand in the last few years, online. Pop-ups, they are best served when you're offering something of value to your target clients. So you have to know who your target customers are. You have to know what they're interested in. You have to know what your opt-in offer is. And also, I think pop-ups are best. The welcome mat feature. I think that's in SumoMe. That one's pretty good. Or exit, when you're exiting the page, that's a good time to do a pop-up. But it's really annoying, when you're trying to read something and, 3 seconds go by and something pops up, or you scroll down a little bit on the page, something pops up. Because on a phone, a lot of these you can't close, or on, a laptop or something. I've seen pop-ups from lead-in that you can't close, and it just depends. I mean, it's all got to be about user experience. Because honestly, at the end of the day, it's not about how many people you get on your list. It's about how many quality people you get on your list. And if people only sign up to your list because they don't know how to get rid of the pop-up any other way, then that kind of defeats the whole purpose, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, those pop-ups where they make the no either practically invisible.
You're talking about
they have one of those. No, I already know everything about everything. Kinds of things are annoying. But yeah, I did hear somebody on another interview recently saying that it was the exit pop-ups that were converting the best, and what killed her was the fact that it was an exit pop-up sort of from the product page or something where they'd looked at it and apparently decided not to buy it yet, but just having that thing sort of are you sure, do this pop up when they went to exit converted a lot of them. And she said it doesn't seem logical that 2 seconds ago you wouldn't want it and now you do, but that's how it seems to work.
Well, it's not a logical world, is it? But it did really make me think, because I've got so much going on, and I listened to it and I thought, I've got to sort this out. And I changed on the WP-Tonic because I was one of those criminals. They had it pop up all straight away. So I've just had it on. I've changed it completely to exit. You see it exit. And I'm going to be doing some more work on that in the coming months. So I thought it was a good for just that, to make you think a bit more about it, because you got a big list of things to do and you just slap it up and it doesn't get a result. And I've been messing around on the offer over the last few months, and it's a pretty strong offer now. But I'm going to be thinking about it a lot more and putting more attention to it. So I thought it was a good interview for that, and he's always great to listen to. I think he always offers a lot of insight and a lot of value when he And I've been trying to get him on WP-Tonic for years, but he keeps resisting, but I'll keep at it. Right, so I think we'll go for our break, folks, and we'll be back with our main topic of how to turn that bit of a dog of a WordPress website into a speed machine. Be back in a minute, folks. We'll be back. We're coming back, folks. But we're going to be talking about how to turn that dog of a WordPress website into the speed machine you dreamt of. And I do hope I can rely on my experts rather than me to tell you how to do that. So I've got a load of linked stuff here that I researched myself, and I've got 3. I don't propose that we talk about hosting or the theme, because I think on these previous, we had a whole discussion about hosting, and we had a discussion about theme.
Well, I don't think we need to talk about it at length, but I do think that the number one best thing you can do to speed up your site is get decent hosting.
Yeah, true.
There is just a limit to how much you can do on your end of it if the server is not configured well for WordPress.
Yes, don't go for that. There's certain hosting companies, they're fine, folks, but when somebody says I'm going with them, a lot of podcasters, a lot of people online push them because they give a lot of commission. I'm, talking to some hosting company. I will not be choosing a hosting company because it gives me the biggest commission, folks, to be a sponsor of this show. That will not be my total criteria. Good hosting, like Sally says, is really important. Does the cat agree, Sally?
Oh yes, the cat wants to be well hosted. Indeed,
he does want well hosting, doesn't he? And theme, some of these themes are dogs. It's really as simple as that. Would you agree, Jackie? Some of these themes are just dogs, aren't
yes, they? Avoid the bloated Swiss Army knife themes, and get something lean and mean and that serves a purpose specific to your needs.
It's been on the WP-Tonic fitness regime, hasn't it? You look very stoic today, John.
I'm stoic?
Yeah, you look
I'm stoic every day. You just now noticed?
Yeah.
Yes, he is.
Being on this podcast has probably made you stoic. So what do you think? Hosting, just get this over with, John.
Yeah, let's just get it over with. There's only so much you can do with shared hosting or like the generic GoDaddy hosting, which is what a lot of people have. Do yourself a favor, get something like WP Engine or SiteGround at the very least, or Flywheel, or something that's like good. Don't mess around with your local hosting company that like takes 2 weeks to configure your server to what it should have been like 2 years ago.
Yeah, I'm sorry. GoDaddy, Bluehost, I'm bloody alligator. Sorry, folks. It's not going to hack it. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to be blunt, but I'm getting like Sally. No,
and when it comes to themes, and what you're saying, yeah, like with the themes, yes, I understand. Like when you go on Theme Forest, Avada and X theme, and
the most popular ones seem to have tons and tons of extra
they're
stuff
garbage
that you just don't need, and so that's a bunch of overhead that your site carries. So yeah, just say no.
They're dogs, folks. They're dogs. The time that Google just give up on it and never index it in a million years.
Yeah, but the thing of it is those keep getting play because like the do-it-yourselfers, they Google WordPress themes, and that's what comes up number one is Theme Forest, and all the web agencies that don't actually have hardcore WordPress developers, they just kind of have juniors, or they're just people just like saying like, I'm good at implementation, but I'm not good at development. But I can buy something from Theme Forest, and that. So you see it everywhere.
Yeah, but I want to be fair here, folks. The thing
Yeah.
for it, it's just a marketplace. They've got some really good.
Right, yeah, it's not as if something can't be any good, but unfortunately, the most popular things do tend to be really bloated, and unless you actually have the coding skills to de-bloat them in some way, it's not really a good idea. They make it look appealing in the ad, and then you get in there, and there's so many options that it's quite overwhelming to a beginner. And you end up with all this code that's being loaded that's not being used. So the more things your theme has in it, the slower it's likely to run.
Yeah,
And it doesn't matter where you buy it, that's going to be true. If it has 50 sliders in it, no matter who sells it,
look, folks,
it's going to be an issue.
Look, folks, I found dogs everywhere when it comes to themes. I've found dog themes on Theme Forest. I found dog themes on supposedly really respected third-party theme shops. I found dogs everywhere. But I found, after a couple of experiences, you learn to look at the code a bit more intently.
Yeah.
Right. Well, if you're building stuff for other people, or if you know anything about it, I mean, your potential clients and most end users, you can't look at the code from a premium theme before you buy it, because you have to buy it first.
Yeah.
And so, unless you can talk to somebody who's already used that theme and looked at the code for you, and there are people who will do that.
I try and hunt some of them down in the wild and have a look at it. I've become a bit. I've learned spending a bit of time up front saves a lot of time in the actual process.
Yes, well, I used to have a housemate who was a professional organizer, and she said that every hour that you spend planning saves you 4 hours of actually doing it.
Believe that. I do.
Yeah. So let's. So we had a bit of a chat about crappy hosting and avoid the dogs of the theme world if you can. Let's go on. So the other things I thought I think I've got 6 sections here. CDNs, caching plugins, optimizing.
Did you post these somewhere, Jonathan, or
no?
You're just keeping them to yourself?
That's right, Sally. I am. I'm going to keep it all to myself, Sally. See what you know. Where's
precious?
Right. No, Sally, it was just I've done it this morning at 6 o'clock this morning. I was going to do it last night, but I went out and enjoyed myself. So, where's the test page? Blah blah blah. Area services that help you with speed testing and useful plugin tools and resources. They were my main headings. So I propose that we can start off with CDNs. What do you think, Sally? Do you think if you're going through this process, do you think you should look at a CDN, and maybe you can describe to people what one is?
Well, I think everybody should use Cloudflare, which is not a traditional CDN, but
I've got the link here, Sally.
Does some of the same things. What your traditional CDN does basically is you upload your images or whatever resources to that CDN, and they get served from the different places. And Cloudflare works a bit differently, but there are a couple of ways in which it can help speed things up and make them more efficient. One is they do have caching. They do have a number of different kind of distribution points around the world, so they will serve stuff to people from a closer area. But one of the main reasons that I use them is to block the bot attacks, so that you're not getting a ton of traffic that's useless to you and using up all your execution time and sucking up your server resources. So they have several things that will speed up your site. And if you're already using something else that does like your minification and whatnot, then Cloudflare isn't going to make it any faster. Once it's minified, it's minified. That takes care of that part. But it's helpful for that, and all of that is free. Just go to cloudflare.com and sign up. And the WP Rocket plugin has a specific Cloudflare integration, or Cloudflare itself has a plugin to help you work with it from within your install so that you can clear the Cloudflare cache. I mean, it's like, the more caching you're using, the tougher it is to pinpoint what's going on. And they do have, you can set it into developer mode so that it will temporarily not cache, and you can see what happens there. But I definitely recommend that.
Yeah, I'll put some links in. Hey, I'm just going to ask John. John, can you explain what to some of the people that are viewing this that don't know what basically is a CDN?
So a CDN, that acronym stands for a Content Delivery Network. So basically, to understand why that's useful, most browsers right now, they can download like one file at a time from a domain name. So the faster you can like download stuff into the page, the faster your page speed is going to be. What a CDN does is it provides, there's like data centers like all over. It's a distributed network which hosts like stuff like your image files and say like your CSS or your JavaScript files. And so you can download from like more than one domain in parallel. So you're downloading from like your regular like hosted files, like the HTML for your site. And then from the CDN, you're pulling from that domain. So things are, instead of just going like this, it's going like this. So like things are like going faster. Now, I know in the future, HTTP2 is going to make that kind of obsolete because it's going to make like, downloading in parallel kind of a standard thing. But for now, CDNs, basically they help like speed up the rendering of the page by like making the files like download like faster because it's not just one domain. You're not being blocked like one domain at a time. It's two domains. So like for my own site, I use like Max CDN, Flywheel integrates with it automatically. I was using that before when I was hosting on a different host. I was just paying for it separately. They use them as a partner right now. So, and I think WP Engine, they have like CDN integration. It might be the same people. It might be different. There are different like CDNs. You can use something like Amazon, AW3, which requires like a little bit more like technical knowledge to integrate. You can use like a traditional CDN, Max CDN. There's Ikamai. There's different ones. But basically, wherever your person is like browsing from, like it's going to download that information from the data center that's closest to them.
That's great. So Jackie, I've put some links in. I've put in like the one that Sally and I've used quite a bit, Cloudflare.
I'm not seeing these links.
Oh.
Nothing is updating on my chat.
Oh, well, it must be me again.
No, it's probably Blab, because nothing updated when I put in a message recently.
Well, I did put them in, so Blab's playing up, but that's surprising, isn't it, folks?
Yes, Kelso Breeze.
So the ones I put in, Jackie, I put in Amazon, like Amazon Cloudflare, I put Max CDN, Cachefly, you got Key CDN, and you got a couple of others that I haven't put in. I think also Google got their own caching, I think. Have you used any of these? And
I've used Cloudflare and Max CDN and was happy with those. I think we've covered a lot about the CDN already, and I think the prerequisite for that is are you optimizing the images? Let's just say, specifically talking about images, because that's the big hog on the website. It's not your CSS or your JS files. Most of the times, if you're developing, you're minifying those anyway. But the images are the big hogs. And that's where optimizing those even before you get them into your CDN would be really, really beneficial for you. So I use something like Kraken.io. There's lots of image optimizing ones. I like that because it's in my WordPress dashboard. So when I'm uploading a file to my media library, it automatically will crunch it and optimize it. So that gives you like the jump start right off the bat. And that's something an average user can do.
Yeah, it's great, Jackie. Let's dive into that, Jackie. It was number 3, but there's no, it's a great point. So let's go straight.
Yes, and on that subject, yesterday or the day before, the Imagely blog posted this thing basically saying, don't optimize your images in WordPress, optimize them before you upload them. Well, this is great if it's you using your own site and you can download one of these image optimization tools. Like you're a photographer. I mean, they do stuff for photographers. If you're a photographer and it's your portfolio site, you are probably going to have the skills to optimize your images before you upload them and crop them and this and that. But there is a one-word reason for installing a plugin that will automatically optimize images when they're uploaded. Clients.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right? None of my clients is going to, crop their stuff to the right size,
right,
upload it to, Optimizilla, do any of that kind of stuff with it. Your clients are likely to be uploading their 10 megapixel images direct from their cameras,
right, or from their phone,
from their phones or cameras, and that's why you need something in there, because big images are it's a design thing, massive hero images.
Well, Sally, it comes from them. A lot of this comes from the smartphone. I found with a lot of users. They're uploading images from their smartphone that are like 3,000 pixels wide by 2,000 pixels in height, and they're uploading them and they're bunning them on their websites as well.
Right, and they don't know better, and I don't know that we should necessarily expect them to know better. I mean, and that's why people created these plugins where you can say, no, make sure, get rid of the giant image, make sure the biggest image is X wide, specify that, compress them so that they're, at each size, none of them are too large. And it will, if you've had a site where you've had all those huge images and you optimize the images, you're going to notice a massive difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I can't post my links, I'm just going to quickly run through which will be in the show notes. So if you go to the WP-Tonic, they'll all be there, folks. I can't control Blab. So I'm just going to quickly go through them, and then I'm going to ask John about, talk about some that I'm pointing out or some that around image optimization. I've got Optimize, that's optimize.io. I've got Image Opt-in, which is a hosted service and also the provider app for the Mac only. Sally, Jackie mentioned Kraken. I use it. I just like saying unleash the Kraken.
Yeah, unleash the Kraken.
Unleash the Kraken. Then we got some plugins for not people like us, but for users of the website. Really popular one I use myself is the www Image Optimizer, and then you got WP Smash, the free, but they really it's got limitations, and they've got a paid version. So what do you reckon, John? You got any others you like, or would you like to talk about some that I've mentioned?
Sure. So Kraken is one that I've used in the past. You can get a subscription. I think it's like $5 a month or something like that for that. Which is good. Smush I've used in the past. EWW Image Optimizer is good, but specifically like WP Engine has it on their list of plugins that
can't use.
It's on their do not use list.
That's why I don't use WP Engine. That's what I use them.
Yes, well, I would think it would be pretty resource intensive while it's doing that compressing.
Yeah. So those are definitely things. I think if there's a way for, us as developers to set up like a specific like image crop for like specific images, that would be like good, because again, like you got to just make things client proof as possible. Like Sally was saying, because they're going to upload stuff from their phone. They're going to upload stuff from their camera. They're not going to like Photoshop it and crop it down. And a lot of the times, too, keep this in mind. This is a big thing to keep in mind, too. Like when people take the picture with their iPhone and it's like oriented like a certain way, and you go to change it in the WordPress, like, tilt, like rotate it or crop it or whatever, the original image, like the XF image or the XF information, like in the photo, in like your email newsletter, it's going to be the original like orientation. Yeah.
Oops.
So that's just something to keep in mind. I mean, it's got nothing to do with speed, but it's got something to do with like image, like optimization.
Right. The plugin you want that will make sure that no image is bigger than X is called Imsanity, IMSANITY. It's
cool.
in the repository.
Thank you.
Because Blab is failing us, Sally, can you send the link?
I will put that in the Slack channel. How's
that sounds great. And I will put it in. Put everything in the Slack channel that you're talking about, folks, because Blab is failing us, and I'll make sure it's all in the show notes. So there were a selection of ones that I have used, are using at the present moment, have used, and I thought they're all ones that I could send people to that won't commit disaster for them. So let's go on to something else that's going to cause a bit of chat. Cache plugins, love them to death. So I'm just going to run through the ones I've got. I've got obviously W3 Total Cache. I've got W Super Cache. I've got WP Rocket, and I've got the one that I use, Comic Cache. Sally, so there's a lot of other ones, but they're the four that I have used, got some experience with, or I think I haven't used WP Rocket, but you use it, and I know a lot of people do. Would you like to start off, like, about what, about some of these four and your experiences?
Right. Well, I have used Super Cache and I have attempted to use Total Cache, and it's somehow, unless you really understand, first of all, it's not really meant to work on shared hosting, and second, unless you really understand it, it will make your site slower. So I mean, what the thing that makes WP Rocket worth paying for me is that it's really easy. It will do a lot for you if you just install it and turn it on. And activate it without doing any extra configuration. And I also like it because, it will, you can give it your Cloudflare information, and then you can use it to clear your Cloudflare cache, and it has CDN integration. So it basically does all the stuff that W3 Total Cache does, but easier. And I find that it makes a really big difference for sites that are on those dreadful hosts. You're not going to notice I don't think you're going to notice with any caching plugin as big a difference on the better hosts. Although one of the interesting things is that, they worked with WP Engine, and WP Engine allows you to use WP Rocket where they don't allow you to use most caching plugins. They've really worked to try to be compatible with the caching provided by the managed hosting companies.
I reckon I should get a sponsorship from WP Engine. We mention them enough freaking times, don't we?
Hit them up. I'll hit them up. There you go. Do it.
Go for it.
I'd like to just point out with the one I use, Comic Cache, and I'm getting nothing for this, is I went to their website this morning. One of the nice things with Comic Cache rather than WP Rocket, they do have a free version. It's a light version, but it still has a fair bit of functionality. And I noticed on their website until the 5th, they've got if you buy one of the paid products, you get a 25% discount until the 5th of July. So I just thought that'd be comiccache.com. So Jackie, have you tried all the four that I've mentioned? Got any comments, or are there some that you've tried that's not on this list of four that I quickly provided?
The only one that you haven't mentioned that I'm using now is a free plugin in the repo, and it's Auto Optimize, but it just has one O. So
can you bun it into Slack, can you?
Auto Optimize.
Make sure you.
I used that a long time ago on something, but I haven't
put
looked at
it in our
in
WP-Tonic Slack channel, so you have a link for it there.
Yeah, and I will bun it in the notes, Jackie.
It works good for me. It's minifying and combining my CSS and JS, and that seems to work. And I'm using that with Super Cacher with the SiteGround hosting. I have GoGeek hosting. which I like. It's very fast.
That
works for me. WP Rocket is very good too. I mean, I couldn't tweak it enough to get the results that I wanted, but I could see where it would be really beneficial for a lot of other people. So that one, I'm trying to think if there was another one. Well, W3 Total.
Yeah, I've bookmarked a few to try.
I don't know anybody using that anymore. And they're just older ones that you got 3 or 4 years ago that you were trying. But to me, it seems like, and if your host has caching available, that might be a good option to go with too, because it's going to be designed to work well together with that host. Like SiteGround's a good example. They have their own caching for that. And to me, that makes a lot more sense to just use that. If you're not getting the results you want, you may want to look at, what your stack is of all of your, how many plugins do you have installed, and how many separate CSS files are being generated, and how many gazillion JS files are you loading, and, start auditing all of that. But
right. And are you using all of them? I mean, another issue with some of these themes is that they might be loading a whole bunch of JavaScript that you're not using because you're not using that specific feature. And then, how do you decide which of these scripts
it's almost like if you're like using Font Awesome, right? And you're using their plugin and you're loading that, and you're just using a couple of icons on your homepage, you might want to look at a better option than having all that overhead for that. It's not like you're using these icons all over the place on every page. If you are, then that probably makes sense to use it that way. But if not, maybe look at SVG icons and just, I'm going through my sites that I'm doing now and just really auditing them and go, okay, where can I improve this? Where can I trim off some of this fat and get it to load? Because, if you've ever done a static website that's not WordPress and just like, you have a Bootstrap or whatever, you're like, and then you go to tools.pingdom and you run a test on it to see how fast it is. And you're like, whoa, I wish my WordPress site could load like that. And then you look at what's being loaded in WordPress and you're like, I'm never going to get my website to load that fast. But minimizing those things, and like I'm sure the next topic will be, do you need all the plugins you have? Who's managing? How often do you need to audit these plugins and see, okay, do we really using this? Can we combine it with something else? Some of those things, because that's a lot of overhead as well.
Well, thanks for that, Jackie. We're going to have to end the conversation for the recorded part of the podcast show, where we continue this discussion, and you'll be able to go to the WP-Tonic website and watch the continuous conversation, which we re-record on video. It's been a great discussion. We're going to go through some other points, like I say, and we'll be back next Saturday at 10 a.m. with a great WordPress panel. Please go to iTunes and subscribe to the show, folks, and please give us a review. It really does help. It's been a great discussion, folks. Say goodbye, folks.
Bye.
Bye.
Right, I've just my
still says recording.
Yeah, well,
well, he said he was going to record the whole video, but do a separate audio for the audio
I've just
podcast.
switched off the software that I use for the podcast that really works rather than relying on Blab, which I love.
What are you using to record your podcast?
I found this. It's called Wire. Blah blah blah. Just give me a second. It's called Wiretap Studio.
Haven't heard of that one.
It's a lovely little program. I would highly recommend it, Jackie. It produces a really nice MPEG-3 file. I record through it in mono. Russell's arrived, folks, so I need one of you to drop out.
I'll jump out. I've got a ton of work to do this afternoon, right. So I've got to go. But,
okay.
Right. And you mentioned Kim.
Yeah, she said she might do. She might pop in at some stage. I don't know.
If Kim comes in, I'll jump out.
Okay. Well, y'all have a very good week. Thanks. Happy 4th.
Okay, thanks, Jack.
Happy 4th.
Bye. Yes.
Happy 4th of July.
Happy
Keep your dogs inside.
Yeah, fortunately, my cats are not at all
Shall I
disturbed
kick you
by
out then,
fireworks.
shall I, Jackie? There you go. I'll kick
It's
you.
not letting me leave.
Our pit bull is not,
Just
but the
doesn't want
other
you.
two
It just doesn't
No,
want you.
it will not
just they
let me
freak
hang
out.
up. I'm trying to
just
hang up. Okay, I'm going to close my
Right,
browser
yeah, just
window
close
then.
it.
That's all I've got.
Yeah,
I
if you
think
close your browser, I'm
think
sure it will
Blab
cut
is
you
hung
off.
up somewhere here.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, there's something glitching.
bye y'all.
Oh, bye.
Bye.
Oh, surprise. There we go.
Oh, it's not letting her. I'll still see her, so it's not freeing up.
Okay, hold on. I'm trying to kick her, and
No, it's not letting me kick her out.
it's not letting me kick her.
Well, Russell, you might have a problem joining us because I can't see the kick.
Hold on. Let me see if I can kick myself and let
Right.
him in really quick,
Right.
and then I'll try and jump back in.
Right,
Right. If not, we may have to, restart
Yeah,
this.
I don't know. I can't even hang up on myself. I don't know what the hell's going on.
Well, given that Jackie said that wouldn't work for her.
Strange.
Well, I think we should continue the discussion. And
Right. What happens? Can you switch her from being a host?
yeah, I
to
could do
being
that. Let's try that.
Try
That's
that.
a good point. Fine. Thanks for that, Sally.
I'm not sure how you
Okay.
do it.
Oh,
She's no.
I see. Hold on.
Yeah, you have a go. I've just tried.
Okay.
Let's try and kick her out. Have a go trying to kick her out, John.
I'm trying.
Kick her out, John.
I'm trying.
It's when I press the kick button, it gives props. There is something
That's
funny
weird.
going on here.
I can't. It doesn't seem to want to let me do it. Something's
No.
like glitch.
Yeah, I think we may have to try
This continue.
shutting this session down and restarting
Maybe.
it.
Hold on. I'm going to refresh.
Can you do that?
Refresh. Sorry, Russell. I think you're not going to be able to join us, but it's nothing to do with me, Russell. It's Blab. It's freaking. I love it though. It's a shame they can't get it to work. It's like having a girlfriend you really love, but you know she's a psycho.
Well, there are a lot of these tools where they're not 100%
And I like to remind
reliable.
folks that works both ways. If you're a lady and you've got a psycho boyfriend, you might love him, but deep down he's a psycho, don't you, Sally?
Yeah, well, at that point you get a restraining order.
I do love you, Sally. I do like your one-liners. They're very English. But how long did you spend in England?
I lived there for 4 years.
Do you think some of the English rubbed off on you?
I do. I mean, I think I was sort of temperamentally suited. My father has an extremely dry wit. And so, I think I adapted to it fairly well.
For our American viewers, we're just waiting to see if John can ever rejoin us. Probably not. Can you explain, what do you see the difference between English humor and American humor?
The English have much more sort of focus on wit. I mean, like even the terrible newspapers all have headlines that are puns, right? I mean, they're barely literate, but they're still making puns. And Americans are just much less intellectual than that. Although on the other hand, the British have a lot of bathroom humor that the Americans tend not to do as much of. But and so I think there are kind of levels and levels of it.
What do you think?
I think you just sort of have to experience it, and there is a wide variety in what what passes for humor in different cultures. When I was in graduate school, the chairman of our department was from Germany, and he'd lived in America for probably 20 years at that point, but he would still have trouble understanding, why we found things funny, and we wouldn't understand why he found some things funny.
What do you think I should do here? Do you think I should leave and then start up? You stay here. You stay here for a couple minutes.
Okay, I'll stay here and see what happens.
I will kick myself out of this. I will start a new Blab, and then I'll paste the link in this chat room. Well, I won't. I have to put it in Slack.
Yes. Yeah, put the link in the Slack
and
channel.
You can tell people.
We'll just
because I think this is finished, isn't it? It
just seems to be stuck.
A bit like me, really, isn't it? I'm sorry, I can't help English humour. All right, I'm getting out of this. I probably won't even. I'm going to have to close the whole browser and restart. I'll
think
see you in
that
a
may
minute,
be what we
Sally.
have to
Right,
do.
put the link in
All right.
into Slack. I will see you in a second.